Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging right into the world of the early Christian church.
Mm-hmm.
And you really need to picture this.
Yeah.
Their faith, still emerging, was actually considered a religio illicita.
Yeah, an illegal superstition, basically, in the eyes of the Roman Empire. A pretty hostile environment.
Definitely hostile.
So, faced with this constant threat, they didn't just, go underground completely. They got creative.
How so?
They developed this really sophisticated, coded visual language. We call it a semiotic refuge.
Semiotic refuge. Break that down.
Sure. So semiotic just refers to signs and symbols, right? Their meaning. And refuge, because these symbols were like a hidden safe space.
A safe space built out of symbols.
Exactly. It was their way to signal identity, share beliefs, honestly, just to survive when open confession could be deadly.
It shows incredible ingenuity, doesn't it? Creating this complex, covert communication system.
It really does.
So these weren't just pretty pictures then. They were like acts of strategic risk management?
Absolutely. More than just identification, they were about managing immense risk.
Okay, let's unpack that. What's a key example? Maybe the most famous one.
Well, the ichthys, the fish symbol, is probably the classic example.
Right, the fish.
For your average Roman citizen, seeing a fish symbol might mean nothing special. Maybe good luck or something to do with fishing, maritime trade.
Just part of the background noise.
Pretty much. But for a Christian, it was different. Imagine two strangers meeting. One might subtly, draw an arc in the dust, like half a fish.
Okay.
If the other person was also a believer, they'd complete the fish. Instant recognition, but totally deniable if someone else saw.
Clever. But why a fish specifically?
Ah, well, that's the brilliant part. The Greek word for fish, ichthys.
No.
It works as an acrostic.
An acrostic.
Yeah. Ichthys. It stands for Iesus Christos Theodios Sator.
Which means?
Jesus Christ, God's Son, Savior.
Wow. So in one simple disguised symbol.
They affirmed the absolute core of their faith without saying a word out loud. That's strategic.
Okay, that's impressive. What else?
Well, building on that idea of plausible deniability, think about the anchor.
The anchor, like on a ship.
Exactly. A really common Roman symbol for safety, for hope, stability, widely understood.
Makes sense.
But for Christians, the shape itself subtly suggested a cross.
Ah, I see it now. The top bar.
Right. It was called a crux dissimulata, a disguised cross.
Because the cross itself was, well, shameful back then.
Precisely. It was an instrument of execution for criminals. So the anchor let them reference this central idea of their faith, Christ's sacrifice, but hidden in plain sight. It symbolized their hope in salvation.
Hidden in plain sight. I like that. And there's the Good Shepherd, too, right? That image feels very familiar.
Oh, absolutely. Very common in early Christian art, especially in the catacombs. You see this youthful figure carrying a sheep, usually over his shoulders.
And Romans would have recognized that kind of image.
Yeah, they would have seen something similar in their own art, like Hermes the ram bearer, Hermes Chirophoros, just a nice pastoral scene.
But for Christians,
For Christians, this was clearly Christ, the Good Shepherd from John's Gospel, the one who lays down his life for the sheep. An image of comfort, protection, salvation.
so again, using a familiar image, but giving it a deeper, hidden Christian meaning.
Exactly. And you find these symbols, like you said, in the catacombs, legal burial places, so somewhat safer, offering comfort, but also on, personal items.
Like what?
Rings, seals, maybe lamps or amulets. Clement of Alexandria, an early church writer, even advised Christians on what symbols were okay for their seals. He suggested the fish, the dove, the anchor.
So they were consciously using this ambiguity in daily life, too.
It seems so, yeah. It was woven into their lives.
This whole system was born out of persecution, out of risk.
Yeah.
What changed things? When did the symbols come out of hiding?
The absolute game changer was Emperor Constantine.
Right, Constantine.
After his supposed vision before a major battle. And then, crucially, the Edict of Milan in 313 AD, that granted religious toleration.
So Christianity was suddenly legal.
And that raises a huge question, right?
Yeah.
What happens to a secret code when you don't need the secret anymore?
The symbols must have changed function.
Dramatically. Take the Chi-Rho. That's
Yeah.
the first two letters of Christ's name in Greek, X and P.
Right.
Before Constantine, it was a relatively quiet monogram, another hidden sign. After Constantine, He supposedly put it on his soldiers' shields, on his imperial standard, the labarum.
Whoa, from hidden symbol to military emblem.
Exactly. It transformed, it became a symbol of military victory, of divine imperial power, a shift from sort of spiritual salvation to supporting earthly power.
And the cross itself.
The cross, too. Once Constantine abolished crucifixion as a punishment, the shame started to fade. The cross could become an open, even triumphant symbol, not humiliation, but Christ's victory over death, publicly displayed.
So quite a journey. From these whispered meanings, this incredible risk management using hidden symbols.
To open declarations, bold emblems of a now favored, even imperial religion.
The ingenuity there, the resilience of those early believers crafting that semiotic refuge is just,
Yeah.
it's really something.
It is, and that whole Constantinian shift is fascinating, seeing symbols like the Chi-Rho and the cross morph from these quiet signs of faith and endurance.
Into powerful emblems of empire, a shift from a theology of maybe endurance under pressure to one of public triumph.
Precisely.
Really makes you think, doesn't it? Are there similar coded languages or ambiguous symbols around us today, maybe outside of religion? Things that carry a deeper meaning just for those in the know. Could be in branding, political movements, social groups. What stands out to you? Something to ponder.